So I've been hearing some of y'all want to cancel Kendrick. It's your boy Philly, aka Philly Boy Wonder, aka your mama favorite African. Let's jump straight into this, man.
Now, Kendrick Lamar is catching heat after deciding to collaborate with Playboi Carti, a move that's currently sparking major debate. This is something we need to talk about because the reactions have been all over the place. Some fans are defending Kendrick, while others are questioning his morality for working with an artist who has serious accusations tied to his name.
Ooh.
Is Kendrick in the wrong here, or is he simply separating the art from the artist? I think there's a real conversation to be had here. Just a few days ago on March 14th,
I'm going to say this, y'all. Just jumping straight into it. Separating the art from the artist. You know, I used to be that kind of person, right? Where it was really, really easy for me. It was really, really easy for me to be like, all right, I'm going to separate the art from the artist, because a lot of the times when I felt the need to separate the art from the artist, let me zoom this motherfucker in actually. A lot of times when I felt the need to separate the art from the artist, it was from artists I don't really care about, right? I never really had moments where I was like, damn, like R. Kelly, I don't really give a fuck about R. Kelly. Diddy, I didn't give a fuck about Diddy, right? But then when you start entering the space of like artists you care about, that's when I really started to realize that it's not as easy as y'all think. 'Cause I ain't gonna lie, bro. Look, I know that a lot of people might not like this, but I am a diehard, lifelong Kanye fan. And after the stuff that he's been doing recently, it's hard for me to even listen to his music the same. Like, for the first time in my life. And trust me, I've been through all the Kanye crash outs. I've seen things from left to right, bro. From the damn slavery to the damn, all the different things he would talk about and crash out on. And I was like, you know what? This is bad. But I feel like he's still somewhat in the right space. I can still listen to his music. But as of recently, yo, after these crazy ass tweets and all this other bullshit he's been posting, when Kanye comes up on my playlist, I've been skipping it. Recently, I've been skipping it. I can't lie. So the whole thing about separating the art from the artist, to me, when it comes to artists that you actually care about, it's not as easy as y'all think, man. And like, you know, I don't know exactly how they're going to get into this. Maybe they're going to talk about Kendrick being a hypocrite or whatever. But I can understand why people wouldn't support it. That's all I'm going to say.
Playboi Carti finally released his highly anticipated project, I Am Music. Over the last week, he's been one of the most talked about rappers in hip-hop. Carti has always been an elusive figure, but his fanbase, easily one of the strongest in rap. So whenever he drops something, even people who aren't necessarily Carti fans like myself can't help but pay attention. Aside from the album itself, Carti is also making waves for the stacked feature list on I Am Music.
A lot of features.
We're talking Travis Scott, The Weeknd, Lil Uzi Vert, Future, and Young Thug, some of the biggest names in the game. But the most talked about feature, Kendrick Lamar. Kendrick appears on 3 different tracks on Carti's album, which is absolutely crazy because these are 2 completely different worlds colliding in a way that no one saw coming. However,
I'm gonna keep it a stack. I never in a million years thought I would get a Playboi Carti Kendrick collab. I never thought that. I know Kendrick's done some collabs with people that we wouldn't expect, like Rich the Kid and so on, but like Playboi Carti, I never saw that coming.
Beyond the music itself, the most interesting part of this collaboration is the response it's getting. Some of y'all might have already seen the reactions on social media, specifically.
See, y'all see what the fuck I'm saying, bro? Like, oh my God. I'm not trying to make this video about Kanye, because this obviously has nothing to do with him. But this right here, this tweet specifically, bro, explains perfectly what's wrong with him. He tries so, and this is what I don't understand the most, bro. He is probably the biggest attention-seeking celebrity artist we've ever seen. And I don't understand it. He's Kanye West, bro. When you look at his discography, his impact on music, and how famous and known he is, he doesn't need to attract attention. He doesn't need to be an attention seeker. He could just exist and let the work speak for itself. But he goes so out of the way to gain the spotlight when he sees somebody else taking the throne from him, which I just don't understand. And this is the tip of the iceberg, bro. This ain't even anything. This is light work compared to the goddamn Nazi shit he been posting. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It's just shit crazy.
Commonly known as Twitter. But Kendrick is actually facing backlash for working with Playboi Carti. Kendrick's morals are being questioned because, for those who don't know, Playboi Carti has a history of serious allegations against him. And I'm currently actually working on a separate video breaking all that down, which will be dropping in a few days of this video going live. So keep an eye out for that. But to keep it brief, a few years ago, rapper Iggy Azalea, the mother of Carti's child, accused him of being a deadbeat father, meaning he neglects his responsibilities as a parent. For my international viewers, deadbeat refers to an absent or irresponsible father. Then, in February 2023, Carti was arrested in Georgia for allegedly choking his pregnant girlfriend during an argument over a paternity test. Despite these allegations, Carti remains one of the most successful rappers today, backed by one of the most intense and loyal fan bases in hip-hop,
shit's true, yo.
and co-signed by a lot of very successful artists.
Oh,
but
hell.
that same success is, of course, at odds with his past, and many are questioning his character, which is exactly why Kendrick's decision to collaborate with him is sparking so much controversy. Now, putting Carti aside for a moment, Kendrick is at the center of this conversation because throughout his career, he's been an artist known for standing on morals. That being said, he's never claimed to be perfect. In fact, he made that clear on Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, specifically on Savior with rapper Baby Keem, where he rapped, "The cat is out the bag, I am not your savior. I find it just as difficult to love thy neighbors." Even with the weight of his influence, Kendrick has always reminded people he's human. But does that justify his collaboration with Carti? That's the real question. The internet doesn't seem to agree, as several takes have gone viral on Twitter. One of the most popular tweets, with over 2.3 million views, put it bluntly, calling a dude a deadbeat for 12 months and then collaborating with the #1 deadbeat in hip-hop is very funny. And the #1 deadbeat is, of course, supposed to represent Carti in his tweet. The biggest reason why Kendrick is facing backlash, it all ties back to his beef with Drake on Meet the Grahams, probably the most cutthroat diss track in their feud. Kendrick called out Drake for allegedly hiding a secret daughter and being a deadbeat father, though that claim remains unverified. Kendrick rapped, "Dear baby girl, I'm sorry that your father not active inside your world. He don't commit to much but his music, yeah, that's for sure." Kendrick closes the verse with, "And a effing deadbeat that should never say more life." A direct shot at Drake's character, using the title of his own project against him.
I remember
After calling
that.
out Drake for being absent as a father, Kendrick is now collaborating with Playboi Carti, an artist with similar accusations against him. Now for Carti, it's even kind of like worse because there's obviously like some weight to the claims of him being a deadbeat. And that obviously goes back to Mrs. Iggy Azalea. Now the mother of Carti's child, Iggy Azalea, actually did walk back her deadbeat claims at one point, only to later double down on him again and again. She didn't just accuse Carti of being an absent father. She also claimed that he skipped the birth of their son to go to Philly and play video games with Lil Uzi Vert
Oh,
instead.
yeah, I remember that
Come
meme.
to see his son be born. He went to Philly to play the PlayStation with Little Uzi.
And that's a crazy claim right there. I mean, imagine going to Philly, just to play video games. Well, you can like be with your son, but then again, that's a claim that
insane.
Iggy Azalea made. So I don't really know if it's true, but a lot of people have kind of already bought into that as the truth. Now the question is, was Iggy lying or telling the truth? We'll break that down in my upcoming video about this topic where I'll dive deeper into the details. Now Kendrick Lamar's issues with Drake were of course personal and not necessarily a broader moral stance. But at the same time, considering the kind of artist he's been viewed as, it makes a lot of sense why he's getting backlash for what many see as contradictory behavior. Now this isn't actually the first time Kendrick has co-signed an artist, whether verbally or through his actions.
Watch, he's probably gonna say Kodak.
Despite them having questionable actions
Kodak, watch.
against them. Now the most recent example is Kodak Black.
Yep.
Back in 2022, after a 5-year hiatus, Kendrick Lamar dropped Mr. Morale and the
I remember people got pissed about this.
Florida rapper Kodak Black was featured on his project, a move that quickly sparked controversy. Now I covered this story back then, and Kendrick faced major backlash for working with Kodak due to his history of allegations, and now with this Playboi Carti situation, many are calling him out once again. Now regarding Kodak Black, for anyone who's not aware, Kodak Black in the past has faced serious allegations involving an underage girl. Back in 2016, a teenage girl accused Kodak Black of attacking her in a hotel room after one of his shows in Florence, South Carolina. According to investigators, he allegedly bit her on the neck and chest and forced himself on her, despite her telling him,
"Look, man, these the word alleged is holding on for dear life in all of these goddamn claims, yo. I pray to God it's not true. I pray it's not true. But you never know. That's why I'ma still keep an open mind and say innocent till proven guilty. But I ain't gonna lie, it ain't looking too good. I'll be honest."
The girl later reported the incident to a school nurse, who then contacted the police. Kodak was originally charged with rape, but in April 2021, he took a plea deal and pleaded guilty to first-degree assault instead. Now this case was highly controversial.
So he did that shit.
That Kodak essentially got off with a slap on the wrist, especially given the severity of the allegations, which involved a minor. Long story short, Kodak moved past the case, kept pushing his career forward, and remains successful to this day.
What the fuck?
Another 12 months later, Kendrick decided to feature Kodak
I didn't even
Black
know
on his
this.
album, which led to major backlash. Many criticized Kendrick for co-signing an artist with such serious accusations tied to his name. Aside from co-signing Kodak Black, Kendrick Lamar also publicly supported rapper XXXTentacion back in 2017. XXXTentacion, also recognized as Triple X, was of course a rising star in hip-hop who was tragically gunned down in 2018 after being stalked from the bank to a motorcycle shop where his killers ultimately cornered him. Despite his success, X left behind a highly controversial legacy, largely due to the serious allegations made against him by his ex-girlfriend Geneva, who accused him of horrific abuse. I actually dropped an almost 40-minute deep dive the other day, breaking down everything about this particular situation. It's a phenomenal watch, and I highly recommend checking out that video.
I gotta watch that.
This one. Maybe while you're eating that meal,
might react to that
in front of you right now, because obviously you're not gonna finish it. Okay, trust me, you'll not regret it. Okay?
I'll finish that, bro.
That video link is also in the description below. In 2017, after the release,
because I'm not gonna lie, I'm very curious. Like, I've heard loosely about the allegation of him like choking or beating up his girl or whatever, but for the longest period of time, and to this day, I still don't know how much is true, how much is allegation. I don't know. I'm gonna watch that for sure.
Of his album 17, Kendrick Lamar randomly took to Twitter to promote X's album. Not only did Kendrick publicly promote XXXTentacion's album, but his team also personally reached out to Spotify's top executives, including CEO Daniel Ek.
I got no problem with this. I got no problem.
To push back against a policy that threatened to remove X's music from the platform. This policy was a part of Spotify's new hate content and hateful conduct policy, which went into effect on May 10, 2018. As part of this, Spotify announced that it would no longer promote R. Kelly's music on its editorial or algorithm.
I mean, R. Kelly a little different.
Although his music would still remain available on the platform. But R. Kelly wasn't the only artist impacted by this policy. XXXTentacion was also affected, which led to Kendrick's team stepping in. They warned Spotify that if they followed through with banning X from their playlists, Kendrick would pull his own music from the platform. So this particular thing, I guess, is something that Kendrick has faced backlash for over the years. A lot of people argue that, Kendrick doesn't always stand on the morals he preaches, which to a lot of people feels contradictory given his reputation as a conscious rapper. Now, there's a couple key aspects to this conversation.
All right, I'm gonna say this. I do love Kendrick. I love his music. I do love a lot of the things he talks about, and I feel like he has a very insightful mind, and he says a lot of real shit. But I can be honest here, though. I do think Kendrick Lamar is an opportunist. I think he's a contradictory opportunist, where he will preach from a moral high ground and high point, where he'll shit on Drake, he'll talk about a lot of other artists, but if the opportunity presents himself to make a banger song with somebody who has an abuse history that he is openly against, he will continue to make that song. Because it makes no sense how you can call out Drake for being a deadbeat, being a horrible person, for doing all these things, but then you continue to work with people who have quite literally the same, if not worse, allegations to their name. Like, look, I reacted to the Playboi Carti album. I liked the album, and I thought the songs that Kendrick had with him was fire. I thought the song that Kendrick had with Kodak, Silent Hill, was fire. I can't lie. I'm not going to be fake about it and be pretentious. Those were great songs. But it comes to the point where it's like, all right, bro, if you want to make songs with them, that's fine. There's no problem. But why are you going to act like you're on this moral high ground where you are this amazing person, which, I mean, I don't think he's a bad person by any means. I think he is a good person. But you act like you're this huge moral high ground type of figure where you're able to talk down on all these rappers who are bad people. But then on the other side of the spectrum, you'll work with those very same type of rappers if the song is good enough. That, to me, doesn't really make any sense. And it's like really, really, really contradictory. So I don't know, man. That's all I gotta say.
The first one is this. Kendrick is not a saint, okay? He's not some morally superior figure floating above
He talks else. Like it, though.
In reality, he's a man fueled by strong emotions, especially hatred and anger towards people he doesn't like. Drake. And to be clear, I'm not, bringing this up to defend him under the whole, he's not your savior argument. Quite the opposite, actually. I think Kendrick needs to stop being put on a pedestal because he's a normal human being. I've always been open about my support for Kendrick Lamar. I've been following his career since way before he first started gaining worldwide buzz in 2011. And while I always give him his flowers and recognize the great work he's done, I don't believe he's above criticism. Not at all. And I say this as some who...
Yeah, don't sleep, y'all. I know people are going to clip my shit and be like, oh, we a hater. Like, no. I do think Kendrick Lamar is an opportunist, but he is also still one of, if not the greatest rapper of all time. I can say that right now. Easy. There's no argument, right? He's an amazing, phenomenal artist who makes groundbreaking historical music. I'm not taking anything away from his artistry. All I'm saying is he's a little bit contradictory and it makes no sense. And it's obvious that he selectively chooses his morals because of the opportunity standpoint that presents itself. That's all I'm saying.
Actually,
that's all I'm saying.
Right? But at the same time, I have no problem calling out the other side of things.
Type
at
shit.
At the end of the day, he's just a man like anyone else. He bleeds.
The fucking scene.
In fact, one thing I respect about Kendrick is that he doesn't really shy away from exposing the not so pretty sides of himself in his music. That being said, when it comes to Kendrick, he doesn't always face strong pushback on his character. And that's largely because he's extremely authentic in how he presents himself. And on a personal level, Kendrick has never done anything that crosses the threshold of what's considered unacceptable to stand by. He's never been accused of actively harming children or women, and he's never really been caught in the act because that's not really who he is.
Dude.
Aside from an unverified claim made by Drake on the diss track Family Matters, where he alleged that Kendrick beat on his queen. However, there is no proof to support that accusation. Beyond that, Kendrick is a family man and a role model to countless kids, both in his family, his community, and around the world. Now, with that being said, for anyone who's listened to Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, Kendrick was extremely open with things that he's not so proud of. As an example, on a song, Worldwide Steppers, he rapped, "Next time I effed a white bitch was out in Copenhagen." And then on a song, Mother I Sober, he famously admitted, "Intoxicated, there's a lustful nature that I failed to mention. Insecurities that I project, sleeping with other women. Whitney's hurt, the purest soul I know, I found her in the kitchen." Or on United in Grief, where he told the story of meeting a woman in Chicago, forming an emotional connection, and ultimately sexing the pain away. So Kendrick has been very open about the things he's not so proud of in his music. And
as he should.
I respect him for that. I think that's very honorable. Now, when it comes to Kendrick collaborating with Carti, it seems like he's prioritizing the musical relationship over the controversies surrounding the person behind Playboi Carti.
Exactly.
At the end of the day, this is the music industry, where relationships are everything. Even someone as successful as Kendrick relies on aligning with artists like Carti, who speaks to an audience Kendrick himself can't fully reach.
Nah, bro, he don't need that, bro. Kendrick's the biggest rapper in the world right now. Before this Carti song, bro, he had over 100 million monthly listeners on Spotify. This man just won 5 Grammys and then went to perform at the Super Bowl right after. He swept the Grammys. Like, he don't need this, bro. He really don't. If this was 10 years ago, and he was working with some artist who was like as relevant as Playboi Carti is back then, I'd be like, yeah, I get it, bro. Go get your feature. Go get your bag. Go run it up because you need to get the notoriety. And even in 2015, Kendrick was popping. That's when he dropped to Pimp a Butterfly. So he was popping back then. But my point being, he does not need this Playboi Carti feature. He could have not been on this album and his career would have been exactly the same. Nothing would have changed.
To keep the momentum of his career going. Now, personally, I don't really agree with it because, if we're going to criticize Drake for being a deadbeat and shun him, then what makes Playboi Carti, any different in that regard, right? Regardless of, whether the allegations are true or not. I don't think this is really about Carti or Drake as much as it's about Kendrick himself and how much he truly stands on what he claims to be. And in a way, I think situations like this are very important because they force people to reevaluate the illusion of Kendrick as some picture-perfect figure, which he's obviously not. He's just a regular nigga like me and you, right? One of the biggest issues with a guy like Kendrick in relation to how the world views him is that he's done an incredible job of presenting himself as someone who remains morally intact, someone who kept his soul despite all the success. And that's not to say that, he hasn't done that, in this case, kept his soul in pursuit of getting to the level he's at. But the issue is when it comes to a guy like Kendrick, it's almost to, the point where people struggle to see his flaws as a person. The reality is Kendrick has plenty of his own biases. For him, he's just someone who naturally leans towards the good side of being a human rather than the bad. And let's be real though, he's fully aware of how the world perceives him. Kendrick is an introspective, highly intelligent guy, so there's no doubt he knows exactly how he's being viewed. So when Kendrick is facing criticism like this, I bet, this is why, I bet he's thinking, right? He's kind of like looking at it and he's saying, wait, y'all thought I was this person? No, I'm really this person. Kind of making a point that, hey, you guys think I'm, this really holier than thou person who's like on top, but really not. I'm just regular, right?
I do wonder how he thinks about it.
And the thing is about this particular story,
I wonder if he cares.
I can't say that it's not hypocritical because if we're looking at it objectively, in my opinion, I think it absolutely is. And you know what? I don't think it's wrong for people to analyze Kendrick's actions and ask themselves, is he really who he says he is? At the end of the day, as both an artist and a human, people are going to judge you based off of your fruit, i.e. your actions. And if those actions don't align with the morals you claim to stand on, then it's only natural for the world to form their own opinions about who they think you really are. Anyway, if you made it this far, drop a like on this video for me, okay? If you're new here, my name is Blackie Speaks. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Welcome to the family.
I fuck with you, my boy. I've been a part of the family, my dog. We sub. He got 1 million subs. It's crazy. Yeah, man. No, it definitely is hypocritical, right? I love Kendrick though. I still do. I'll still listen to his music. I still think he's a great guy. But that choice to collab with artists that have these allegations that you talk so poorly and so downright upon is it's just not good, you know. But it's not the end of the world. Kendrick's still great. He's still a GOAT. He's still going to be respected and loved, and this is probably going to be forgotten about in a week. Motherfuckers just tweaking out because the album just came out. But yeah, y'all, what do y'all think? Y'all think Kendrick cool? Y'all think he made a mistake? Y'all think it doesn't matter? Let me know in the comments, y'all. Y'all know what to do. Like, comment, subscribe. I'll see y'all in the next goddamn video. If you haven't subbed, that's crazy. If you are listening to me talk right now at the end of this video and you didn't like, and you didn't comment, and you didn't sub, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? I hope to have you come back. We're going to do some crazy in real life content real soon. So I hope you come back soon. I'm going to see y'all. Peace out.
Shining like niggas so bright like a beam. Ballin' LA and I feel like Kareem.